la famille.
So let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the How to Stand Out on Video workshop. My name is Lorraine Lee, and I'm the managing editor at Prezi, which basically means that every week I'm going through dozens of Prezi videos to figure out which ones are the best to feature to our millions of users. And today, I'm going to take the lessons I've learned and share how you can also stand out on video in today's virtual world. 4 years ago, I flew to New York and entered the Empire State Building with sweaty palms and nerves that traveled with me all the way up to the 25th floor. I was getting ready for my first ever on-camera interview as an editor at LinkedIn. Now, it wasn't part of my job description to do video interviews, but I knew it was a skill that I wanted to build because it was becoming very clear to me that video as a medium was becoming really important in the business world. Back in New York, I had scheduled 4 interviews across 4 days with various CEOs, co-founders, and directors. Before the interviews, I spent hours researching them and researching their companies. I ended up with only 10 questions for each person, but I practiced asking those questions countless times the week prior. I started off with an interview with the CEO of the Clinton Health Matters Initiative, and when it was done, a huge wave of relief rushed over me. And although I remained nervous for each of the subsequent interviews, with each one, my shoulders relaxed a little bit more and my voice became more confident. Over the course of my time at LinkedIn, I did about 20 video interviews. And for my last one, I had gotten to a point where I felt comfortable enough to try my first live interview. That interview then gave me the confidence to step onto a tennis court in Berkeley, California, a few weeks later for my first paid speaking gig as the on-court announcer for a professional tennis tournament. And this opportunity came about because an organizer there had seen my LinkedIn videos and reached out. And just as it was possible for me to get increasingly more comfortable and confident on video and to find new opportunities, it's also very possible for you too. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to share the lessons I learned doing video interviews and countless video meetings to help you stand out on video in today's virtual world, whether you're interviewing, coaching, or trying to become a thought leader in your industry. We'll be covering how you can get comfortable on video. I'll be showcasing some of my favorite examples for inspiration, and I'll share some of the best practices you can leverage on LinkedIn once you've recorded your video. Even when the world goes back to normal, I think it's very clear that the business world is still going to rely heavily on video communications, meaning that being a good communicator over video is really going to help you stand out, whether it be with your boss, a recruiter, or your professional network. And the great news is that this can all be learned. As I mentioned before, my name is Lorraine Lee, and I am the managing editor at Prezi, which is a virtual presentations tool. And in case you're wondering, yes, I am using Prezi Video for this beautiful presentation here. Before Prezi, I was an editor at LinkedIn for 6 years, and I'm so excited to share with all of you a few tips about video that I've learned at both of these amazing companies that you can start using today. Let me start off by saying that I know that being on video is not easy. I've mentioned that I've done quite a few video interviews before, and I still get nerves sometimes when I'm on camera. At Prezi, I work with a lot of keynote speakers and influencers, and even they get nervous. And for many of them, it's part of their job. So just know that this feeling is completely normal, and thankfully there are ways to lessen the nerves. So I want to share my favorite 3 tips with you right now. The first is to focus on visuals. So it may sound counterintuitive, but adding visuals to your video, as I'm doing now, is a confidence booster. Not only do they help you remember what you want to talk about, which is especially important if you're doing a longer presentation, but visuals help to deflect some of the attention away from you, and it moves them to the graphics instead. Now, I want to share one example here of someone who I think does a really great job with this, and thank you to Neba on my team for stitching together these videos. His name is Fuji, and he is based in Japan, and he does some really creative things with Prezi Video. Now, Fuji is clearly a great designer, and I know I'm certainly not at this level of design expertise yet, but you really don't have to be. Even adding a simple chart or graph can really enhance your message and add a little something special to your virtual presentation. The second tip is lighting. So it seems simple, but we can't underestimate its importance. Lighting doesn't just make your video look more professional, it can have a psychological effect on you as well. Good lighting makes you look better, and as a result, it can decrease anxiety. Try to have your light source always coming from in front of you, never from behind, as that will cause a backlight effect. Ideally, you have a window in front of you, so you're getting natural light. The third tip is to focus on your. So once you have your visuals and your lighting ready to go, make sure you have the right background. A clean background works best so that your visuals don't get lost. However, this is definitely not a hard and fast rule. There's a lot of room to get creative with backgrounds outdoors, for example. So you may recognize the famous NPR podcaster Guy Raz here. He chose an outdoor setting for his video, and it looks great, and he's getting that natural lighting that I mentioned earlier. As I mentioned before, visuals are so key in helping your videos stand out, and I'd like to show a few examples here that show various keynote speakers and business professionals using video with their visuals to get their message across, to hopefully inspire you and show you what's possible. So the speakers I'm going to be showing here, I'll use Prezi Video, but of course you're able to use whatever program works best for your needs. So up first is Brian Fanzo. Brian is a keynote speaker, and he's someone who seems to be doing a new presentation every day. Brian has done more than 40 virtual presentations for both big enterprise companies and niche organizations since the world went. And Brian is someone who is looking for an interactive virtual presentation solution to help himself stand out, and I think he's doing a great job of that. Next up, we have Mandy Franz, who is the co-creator of the Remote Workers on LinkedIn group, a group which is open to anyone here who wants to join, and I recommend that you do. She has her own company, Make the Leap Digital, and Mandy uses Prezi Video to share her thought leadership around remote work. Next up, we have Samantha Lee. She is a community advocate at GitLab, which is the largest all-remote company in the world. Here, she's sharing effective internal communication strategies for a remote workforce. She's also recorded many videos using simpler templates to share thought leadership and to help grow her career coach digital nomad. And then last but not least here, we have Anders Lou Lindberg. He's an entrepreneur based in Denmark. So he's using one of our templates, and as I mentioned before, visuals don't have to be super fancy or complicated. Here he's using something pre-made, and he added his own text to share more about his journey with fellow entrepreneurs. And he's clearly doing something right because this video has nearly 17,000 views. Now, if I asked all of you to recount the videos that you just saw, what would come to mind? For most people, they're likely to remember a combination of the speaker, the colors, and the visuals. And this doesn't come as a surprise because 90% of the information that's transmitted to the brain is visual. So again, I can't emphasize enough just how important they are in helping to make your virtual presentation stand out. Next, I want to talk to all of you about what you do once you have your video content ready. LinkedIn is a great place to build up thought leadership and to get noticed by recruiters and other people in your field. So years ago, initially access to posting content on LinkedIn was only open to a group of LinkedIn influencers. These were often CEOs or execs at big companies, or people here like the sharks from Shark Tank, since I know I'm talking to a group of entrepreneurs here. But that has since changed, and now anyone can share content. When I was at LinkedIn, people would often ask if they could join the program. But something many of these people didn't realize is that, contrary to popular belief, it's not always the influencers who are getting the most engagement. It's the people like me or like you who are publishing regularly, sharing their thoughts and engaging with their commenters and followers. So I want to share a few examples of individuals who I think are using LinkedIn really well. The first one here is Joel Hansen. And Joel is a marketing advisor, a TEDx speaker, and a personal brand consultant. And you can see here he's garnered over 28,000 followers. And there are a number of things that Joel does really well. So the first is that Joel posts frequently. Followers know that they can expect content regularly from him, and they know that he's going to add something of value to their feeds. He also replies to comments. So Joel gets tons of engagement on his posts with people asking questions and providing feedback, and Joel is active in responding to all of them. No one wants to feel like they're speaking into a black hole, and Joel makes sure that people feel heard. And lastly, Joel asks questions at the end of his post. This is a great way to grab people's attention and get them to chime in or to engage with the content. Something as simple as, do you agree, or what points in my video stood out to you, work very well. The next example I want to share here is Jessica Chen. Jessica is a communications expert and an Emmy Award winner with more than 14,000 followers. And Jessica and I actually got connected because she saw my videos on LinkedIn and she reached out. So I really like this as an example of showing how video can connect people. So Jessica does a number of things well too. She uses a genuine voice and she shares her experiences and challenges, which I think people really appreciate because most of us prefer to hear authentic experiences that we can relate to over something that's been very manufactured. She also uses hashtags. So people can follow hashtags on LinkedIn. So you can see here, if I follow the hashtag growth mindset, I may end up seeing Jessica's post in my feed because she added it to her post. And then lastly, Jessica shares tactical advice. So inspirational content is great, but content you can give people that gives them actionable advice and things they can take away and use in their daily life is going to be even more valuable. So now that we have these examples to learn from, what's next for your own content? How can you reach similar follower counts and visibility with your video content and get noticed by others, including recruiters and candidates? So my first tip is to share your videos. So the LinkedIn feed is saturated with written posts, but there are fewer videos, so take advantage of that. I recommend that you share your LinkedIn video as a native upload so that the video plays automatically in the LinkedIn feed, which is likely to lead to more views and engagement. Now, what does it mean to upload a video natively? It means that you are taking the MP4 file and then uploading it directly into the LinkedIn post. And just a note, if you're doing this on LinkedIn, the video does have to be less than 10 minutes. The second tip I have is that your content is ideally relevant, timely, and backed by data. If you create content around a topic that's trending in the LinkedIn News module, which is what you see here, this is what it looks like on desktop, your post may get picked up by one of the editors. And if you get featured, you will definitely notice a spike in your followers. And the great thing is that these followers will continue to be your followers even after the story expires. So for any future video content you post, it will show up in their feeds, and you'll have a bigger network who may engage with that video, which means that their networks will see it too, and so on. And the last tip here is one that I touched on earlier with Joel and Jessica. Use hashtags, tag others, ask questions, and don't be scared to embrace emojis. So when you talk about someone or a company in your video, I would suggest tagging them in your post, as I did here, so that they get notified and then hopefully reshare it. And that way you get more eyeballs on your content. You can see here, I'm tagging a few different people. You can also add emojis in your posts to break up the text or to help people quickly scan what your video is about. I know sometimes people get concerned that maybe emojis don't look professional, but I've seen them on LinkedIn and I think they work very well. So I would recommend trying those out and see how your audience responds. And then the last bonus tip I have for you is to check out LinkedIn Sharing Guide if you want to dive deeper into how to optimize your video content on the platform. If you were unsure about the importance of video before, I hope that you're now convinced that not only is video here to stay, but also that you are very capable of standing out on video as well, whether it be for thought leadership, coaching your team, an interview, or whatever your use case is. If any of you are interested in trying Prezi Video over Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, etc., feel free to email me for a free upgrade. And we also have a free version of Prezi Video that you can use as well. I'm also happy to look at any videos that you create to provide feedback and potentially even feature your content to our Prezi audience. Thank you so much again for tuning in for this presentation. And with that, I'd like to open it up for questions. All right, if there are no questions, I have some questions for you for some thought starters to get started. So these are some questions I have for you. I would love to hear from you all. I know some of you mentioned in the survey that you are trying to get more visibility as a recruiter. Some of you are interviewing. And so I'd love to hear your use case, and to see if there are any other questions I can answer to help you stand out and get your content seen. Okay, so we have a question here. Is it common at Prezi to receive videos from candidates, or is it available through a candidate's website? So we do not typically, if someone's applying for a job at Prezi, they will typically record a Prezi video. We've also seen people who are just applying for jobs elsewhere or just want to share their portfolio online, and they will record Prezi videos, and you're able to save that onto your account and share that URL with recruiters and other people who might want to see your video. All right, another question here. Hi, Lorraine, I've got many colleagues in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, often shy with English. Any tips to overcome this language barrier? So that's a great question. And I think the part that I mentioned about the visuals is going to be what's really key. So to be able to write out fully what you're trying to say in your presentation, I think will be helpful. You can let the visuals speak a little bit more for themselves rather than having to speak on the fly. You can also, as you saw, I embedded videos. So if they want to write out a script and practice ahead of time and embed videos in the presentation, that's another alternative that I think would work well for them. All right, while we're waiting for questions to come in, I can go back here. So I mentioned that I'm able to offer you all a 6-month free upgrade. And so it allows you to use the Prezi Video desktop app and stream live. This is the sign up link here. You can email me for more information. And then if you want to get started learning more about Prezi Video, we have live trainings with our customer education specialist, Vince. He's really wonderful. So there's lots of availability. So feel free to sign up whenever works best for you. And Vince will be able to answer specific questions you have about using the templates we have or creating something new from scratch, as I did for this presentation. All right, another question came in. What makes LinkedIn video or Prezi Video different from other videos? Well, I'll answer first for Prezi Video. So I think you can see here, it really adds a whole new element of human engagement when you are sharing content and presenting to an audience. There's just a lot more room for creativity. You see all my content is overlaid onto the screen here, and my face is also front and center. So we're not losing that human connection when I share something. A lot of the times when people share their screen, you know, their video shrinks to the size of a thumbnail in the corner. And it's really, at least for me, and I think for many others, hard to stay engaged. I hope you liked this presentation and were engaged as all the different visuals came up. And that's really kind of the advantage that Prezi Video has. Now, LinkedIn Video, you know, you can upload videos from external platforms to LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has, you know, the LinkedIn Live product and now Stories, which mimic a lot of the other social platforms out there. But I think where you can have the most value is uploading a different type of video, something like this Prezi Video, onto LinkedIn so that you reach your LinkedIn network. And that's really where the power of LinkedIn is that you can reach a lot of different people, both in your professional network and those who aren't yet part of it. Thank you for that question. All right, another question here. When recording too many times, I sense I lose the natural style versus message clarity. Any advice? So that's another really good question. Obviously, for video presentations, it's really important to practice to get better. And so what I would say is to try a more conversational style. So what I mean by that is you just have to remember that you are the expert. And I don't know if you are looking at notes or have notes next to you that you're kind of reading off of, but try to push those to the side and just remember that you are telling your story. You're the expert in what you're presenting, and try practicing without any notes or any additional materials to help you. And I think that will kind of bring back more of that conversational style and make it more of a conversation between yourself and your audience. All right, while we wait for more questions, I can go into some features of Prezi Video in case any of you are curious. So you saw me all presenting with my content here. There's also the ability to very easily remove the content if you want yourself to be the main focus. It's very easy to bring it back. And then if I want myself to disappear entirely, I can bring back the background. So I think a lot of people, at least on my video presentations, get excited when you go from this to this. And this is literally being done by just the 1, 2, 3 on my keyboard. And I moved through this presentation using the left and right arrow keys. So very simple to use. All right, another question. How do you keep connected and smiling in front of the camera without eye contact, for example? I think for me, this was just a lot of practice. It took me a little bit of time to figure out where to look exactly. It is different when you aren't looking at your audience or have their videos necessarily, but I think, again, I think this is all practice. One thing that you could do is, a lot of computers have like a sticky note application, so maybe putting a picture of a person on the sticky note and putting it right below where the camera is could be an option to help you feel like you're talking to someone. Put a picture of someone in your family or a friend and someone who makes you happy and makes you smile. And I think that's a good tip to try. All right, next, what is the recommended video duration for LinkedIn? So as I mentioned before, if you want to do a native video upload, let me go back to my tips here. A native video upload, the maximum limit is 10 minutes. And I would recommend, if you can keep it under 10 minutes, that's kind of an ideal length, I think, on social media to keep people's attention. Any longer than that, you would need to share a URL of the video, and then people would be clicking on it and clicking out to see your full video. But I think anywhere between 2 and 10 minutes, depending on the topic you're talking about, makes the most sense. And I recommend that you try different video lengths. LinkedIn has a polling option, so you can poll your followers and your connections about what type of, how long the videos they want to see should be. And then you can also just experiment and post different length videos and see which ones get the most engagement on which days and what time of day. So I'll go into some of the use cases for Prezi Video while we wait for more questions to come in. So I know that this group is particularly a bunch of entrepreneurs, people who are looking to interview better or recruit more efficiently. And there are a ton of other use cases too that you can use this for. So we've seen really great use cases using Prezi Video for selling virtually, for example. Coaching teams, so L&D teams who want to train their employees and make things a little bit more interesting in the virtual world. Teams in marketing have found a lot of use from this. So these are just some examples of other areas that you can use Prezi Video in. We've seen a lot of teachers using Prezi Video as well to engage their students. So a lot of use cases here. All right, we have just a few more minutes, just 3 more minutes. So if anyone else has any questions, now's the time to in, but of course, you can also add me on LinkedIn and follow up if anything else comes up. I'll go back to my LinkedIn page so you can find my information there. I would love, for all of you to add me and to reach out and let me know what you found useful from this presentation, if there's anything that you would want to see next time, and I'll look to include those for my future presentations. All right, can you share about the learning curve with practicing video? I think it depends for everyone. Everyone's different. For me, I just jumped right in and did those on-camera video interviews, and I think those helped me prepare for the virtual world that we now live in. I would say you should just practice however long it takes until you feel comfortable, and sometimes that might be hours for a 20-minute presentation, and that's okay. And I think that's normal when you're starting off, just to get comfortable and to figure out the lighting and the positioning of yourself on camera. So yeah, it really depends. But I think the more you practice, and I recommend recording yourself just so you can see what you look like, and reaching out to me, and I can help provide feedback. Those are all great ways to get better. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Looks like we're closing out this session now, but I hope to connect with all of you on LinkedIn and talk to you soon. Que la famille.